Alright, so I'm going to be opening up and disassembling this 2019 16-inch MacBook Pro model A2141. So this one, I haven't worked on this model yet, but we're going to see what's going on. First, what you want to do is remove the screws from the bottom. These are Pentalobe 1.2. They're like a star-shaped screwdriver. So just remove all of these. Remember, the screws for all these computers are different sizes and lengths everywhere, so you don't want to just throw them all in a bag or something. You want to try and keep them in order. I put them on my desk. Let me give you an example. But I put them on my desk like this, standing up, and I just lay them out the way I find them. So there's 4 down here and 2 back here, so I'll put the 4 like that and then the 2 like that. Okay? So that's how I keep track of the screws and make sure that they stay in order. The 2 on the back are a lot longer, so keep that in mind. And then I think this one is a shorter screw than the other 4, or than the other 3, sorry, at the bottom. So there's 4 down here, 3 of them are slightly longer, and then I think this one is shorter. So keep that in mind, because some people, they just throw them all in together and then they put the wrong ones in and then the screws stick up and they cause problems. So, or sometimes people over tighten it trying to get the screw to go all the way in and they damage something. Alright, so that's important. Okay, so the customer here has this cover on top, and I think it's actually really wood. So the problem with this is I can't use a suction cup to get the cover off. So what I have to do is I have to use this pry tool. Luckily, this model has like this little gap here. This gap is for the air intake. So when the fan pulls and blows air out this way, it actually sucks it in through these holes on the side. So you don't want to cover these holes when you have it like on your bed or your lap or something, because that will cause the computer to run hotter. Alright, so just like all the other newer Macs, you basically have to lift this cover up. So again, normally I would use a suction cup, but because this has this cover on it, it won't let me use a suction cup on it. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm getting my tool on the side here, and I'm lifting the cover a little bit. I just need to get a little gap so that I can get my fingernails or a pry tool underneath the cover itself. Alright, so there we go. I got my fingernails under there. So we're going to lift that up. Okay, so what you do is you get your fingernails or pry tool underneath, and then you want to slide it down the side. Okay, so once you get down to the side, if you pull it up, it'll pop the clip here. Okay, same thing with the other side. There are clips in the middle, but they pull themselves out as you try and pull the sides up. Okay, so just like that. Alright, once you got that all up, then the cover will still be stuck here. So there's like a sliding mechanism here to remove the cover. Okay, so what you want to do is put the computer standing up on its on the front like this, and then where there's this gap here, okay, let me show you on one side. So where there's this gap, what I do is I pull down on that. I use my pinky up here to kind of keep my hand from just sliding down really far, but I pull down on this gap here, and then on the side here I grab with my other hand and pull it down as well. So just like this. Okay, it can be pretty tough. And also, when you stand it up like this, the cover can only go down so far, so you don't accidentally yank it too far. Okay, so just like this, there we go. So the cover comes down like that. Go to the other side and repeat. Okay, pull the cover back, push down on this. Alright, and then it should come out just like that. Okay, so be careful with the cover because you don't want to hit stuff inside the computer. Oh, alright, so there we go. We got the cover. Here you can see there's the 2 clips in the middle. And this is the clip mechanism on the sides. It has this little metal ball top thing that it slides under to clip in place. Alright, so once you get the cover off, the first thing you want to do, well, if you didn't, make sure you shut down the Mac. But after you do that, you want to lift up this plastic thing here in the middle. Okay, so this is the cover for the battery. Okay, oh, and one other thing I should have mentioned, there's nothing upgradable in here. You can't really change anything. So really this is only if you need to do a specific repair. So maybe like the battery, the speakers, the fans, I think the charge ports you can replace as well. But anyways, we're going to set this aside. So you can see this has these two foam pads. Those straddle this cable here. And there's actually a little groove in this, and that goes along with the groove here. So when you put it back, it just lines up with that, and you stick it on like that. Okay, so I'm going to set that thing aside. Okay, so you're going to need a T5, a T4, and probably also a T8 screwdriver bit for this whole disassembly process. So first what we're going to do is get a T5. We're going to need to take this cable out. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see what's going on. But this is pretty much like most of the new Macs that have been coming out ever since I think 2016. So there's this plastic piece here that you need to lift up just to get it out of the way. Down here there's a connector. I don't know if you can see it, but you have to flip up this little latch here. Alright, once you flip that up, then you can grab this cable and you can pull this out. Okay, so this is part of the battery connector, but we also have to remove this part of the battery connector as well. So using the T5 screwdriver, take that big screw out. This is like the biggest screw in the computer, I believe. So take that out, set it aside, and then what you want to do is this metal piece, you want to just pull it up a little so that when you let go, it stays up. Alright, that completely disconnects the battery. After you do that, you want to open up the computer. Alright, and then you want to press and hold the power button. Oh, let me turn off my charger before I fry my phone. Okay, then you want to press and hold the power button for about 15 seconds or so. This MacBook, the customer spilled some coffee or something in it, so the button's being a little weird. So I'm going to take it out and try and clean the clicking mechanism. Alright, so yeah, just hold the power button for about 10-15 seconds just to drain any power from inside here. When you do reconnect everything, you have to plug the Mac back in to get it to turn back on, or it won't turn back on. So make sure if you're doing this, you have your charger to turn it back on. Otherwise, you won't be able to turn it on until you get a charger. Alright, so now I'm going to use a T4 screwdriver and remove most of these little screws. So all these little covers, they use the T4 screwdriver. Let me get this in the center. Okay, so we're going to remove these hinge covers. Okay, I'm going to put all these screws back there. Okay. Oops, let me make sure this is okay. And then you take this little plastic out, you just lift it up and then pull it back. Okay. Sorry if it's hard to see this. I know these pieces are a little bit difficult to see because they're dark and there's not much lighting, and also my hand gets in the way. I don't know if somebody knows a better way to film this, let me know and I will try and do what I can. But yeah, so remove the other two screws for this hinge cover. This model looks like they put some extra cables here that I've never seen before, so I'm going to have to be careful. So pull up this hinge cover and take that out. I don't know what that cable is, but it's going underneath the hinge. That's kind of strange. So this is going to be a somewhat risky repair because a lot of this, it's very different from the other models I've worked on. Alright, so we're going to remove the LCD connector here. So this is the LVDS or LCD cable. Okay, so we're going to take out the two screws holding this one in place. Come on. It doesn't want to come up. I might have to use like a magnet to make it easier. Still doesn't want to come up. Okay, I'll leave that screw in there and we'll just take the next one out. These screws are difficult to remove for some reason. There we go. Okay, now the screw came up. Okay, again, if you're going to disconnect this LCD LVDS connector, you do want to drain the battery from it. Alright. Oh, the screw's getting stuck on other random stuff. Okay. So we'll set that aside as well. And then we need to remove this metal thing because it holds down part of the LCD cable. I need to like have a way that I can look over the top while I'm doing this because it's actually very difficult to sit slightly back away from the computer while trying to unscrew all these things. So maybe I'll just keep doing that tilting trick. That helps, tilting the laptop like this, so then I can see what I'm doing from my viewpoint. Alright, so we got those two screws out. Take off this metal piece as well. Alright, if you're curious, there's actually like a cut in it. That's kind of weird. They bent it over and then it just goes this way towards the back. Okay, I guess that's this is like an Apple joke, because I don't know why it needs this spring. Maybe it helps push the cable down, or maybe it's represents that Apple was bending people over and taking their money when these cables kept having problems. I don't know. Alright, so unplug that, pull that back so it doesn't go back down. Well, it doesn't matter because we're going to pull this whole thing up. I'm going to peel these rubber things up because we're most likely going to have to take them out later. So I'm just going to pull it up now. Okay, on both sides. Hopefully you're able to see everything I'm doing. I don't know if it's going off camera or not. Alright, we're going to take these two screws out as well to get this bracket out. Alright, get that one out, get this one out. Okay, take the little bracket off. Okay, so under here, there's going to be two cables. So let me zoom in so you can see. So this one, you just pop it up. I use my fingernails. You can use like plastic pry tools or something, but just get the very top lip of this, and then you kind of just pull it up like this, okay? And it pops off like that. And then underneath here, there's this, I believe this is the fingerprint power button connector, so just pop that up as well. Okay, now we're going to remove the two screws here for the power, the charge ports, USB-C ports. They're data charge ports, so it's not just a charge port, but I mean, you know what they're for. All right, take those two screws out. After you take those two screws out, this bracket comes off. Take it out. Okay, and then same thing, you just get a pry tool or your fingernail underneath and pop that up, just like that. Pull it out of the way slightly, don't flex it over too far. All right, let's see, what are these connectors? This might be for a microphone, but I'm not sure. But you just flip up the little latch there, okay? And then you can use this plastic tab to pull it out, hopefully. I don't know, it's just pulling out itself. So I'm gonna actually use a little tool to help remove that. So I got this plastic pointy tool. So I'm gonna just get that underneath the cable and use that to help me pull this cable back. Right, just like that. Okay, then you got another cable here. This looks like it's for the fan, but the fans are underneath the board, so I don't know why Apple did it this way. Before, they were connected underneath the board. It's kind of strange. They let you unplug the fan, but they don't make it easy to take the fan out. That's kind of strange. All right, flip that tab up again, and then we pull this back. I think these fans all have like thermal sensors in them or something, because I don't know, there's like all these chips on the fan connectors, which usually fans don't have that. Okay, so there is an adhesive underneath. I just pulled that up. Okay, so yeah. All right, let's zoom back out. Okay, so I don't know if these are all T5 or T4 screws on the other ones. Some of these will be T5. It looks like these are all T5. Okay, this tiny one here, this one here is a T4, but the rest seem to be T5 screws. I'm just going to check them to be safe. Okay, and this one down here is also T4. So these two corner screws are T4 screws, so keep that in mind. Everything that holds down a little bracket like these are T4, and then all the motherboard screws except for these two are T4. Everything else is T5. Sorry, all the other motherboard screws are T5 except for those two. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up. Okay, so let's go back to the T4 screwdriver and continue removing everything. So, well, let's disconnect the speaker connector here. So all these connectors are basically the same. They're either this peel back this tape, flip up the latch and then pull the connector out, or they're the ones where you just pull them up, pry them up. Okay, so let's pull this connector out. Okay, just like that. Set that aside. Same thing with this speaker connector as well. Lift up this tape. So some people are like asking why I kind of leave my nails long. This is why. I mean, you can use tweezers, but I don't like messing around with additional tools if I don't have to. Like, I don't like having to use this pick thing if I don't have to. But yeah. And also when other people need to work on their computers, it's kind of like you have to tell them to get a whole bunch of tools. It's better if you can do it all with the tools you already have. Okay, so let's go underneath this. So this is held down with an adhesive, so this tool has a little flat thing, so I have to use this. I mean, I guess technically you can use your fingernails too, but I cut my fingernails a little bit short, so now it's kind of, I mean, they're still kind of long, but they're shorter than usual. Alright, so there you go. Pull that up and then pull that connector out. This MacBook has so many connectors, it's going to be a pain to put everything back together. Alright, so peel that up, flip that latch up. This is another fan connector, it looks like. So let's get that out as well. Okay, and then pull that back. Okay, just like that. This one also has adhesive underneath, so you want to kind of lift up the adhesive so that the fan's not stuck to it, because when you lift the board up, you don't want to accidentally rip the thing out. So I don't know why this has so many of these flat connectors. I guess we'll find out when I open it up, but there's another one here. Flip that back as well and pull that connector out. Alright, so let's start disconnecting all the stuff that has these T4 screws. So the trackpad connector here. So I'm not going to take out the trackpad. You do need, I think they're T5 screws. Yeah. So the trackpad is pretty simple to replace. It looks like it's very similar to the other 2016 to 2018 models. But basically, let me show you here. You take off this one, you undo this connector here. So just pop this up just like the other ones. Okay. And then you want to peel this whole thing off. I don't really want to do it because there's some risk to it, but basically you pull on this way while you're pulling it up so that you can peel it up flat like this, okay? And you want to be careful. So this is how you remove it. See, it made this thing kind of bubbly. So anyways, what you do is you remove all these T5 screws. There's 2 here, 4 here, these 4, then these 2, then these 4 here, and then I think these 2 and possibly this middle one. Oops, sorry. And then these ones, these 2, then these, and then that one. All right, why is my phone? Okay. So have to remove all those screws around, except for don't remove the 2 that are up here. Those are just to hold the clips for the cover. And then after you do that, when you have this cable up, when you open the screen, the trackpad will actually fall down. So you just catch the trackpad like that. You don't want to flip the trackpad over because there are little washers under each one of these screws. And if you flip it over, they'll all fall out. So yeah, you don't want to mess around with that. Just leave that. Okay. So you let it drop straight down. Okay, so I'm not going to take that out. I'm just going to leave it. Okay, so we got this cable here. I believe this is for the keyboard. Again, it's another one of these connectors. You just peel that up, flip the little tab here. All right, and then you can pull this connector back. Okay, there's so many cables on this one. Jeez, what are they putting all these cables for? Then you got this little bracket here. Take out these T4 screws as well. Oh, Apple's going crazy with connectors on this model. Once I get the board out, I'll see if I can point out what all these connectors are for, but there's so many. Okay, got another connector here. Just pop it up like this. Get your fingernail or pry tool and pop it up. All right, we got these 2 screws again for the other 2 USB-C ports, charge ports. Okay, set those aside as well. Alright. Alright, take the metal bracket off. Okay, then we got this one here. I don't know what this is for. This looks similar to the other ones with the touch bars, but I've never seen a cable going up into the hinge, so that, to me, that's new. I don't know what that is. Maybe we'll find out as I take this out. I'm not taking the screen off of this model because the customer doesn't have any issue with their screen, and I don't want to take stuff out that I don't need to and risk damaging something. So this connector, when you, or this bracket, when you take it out, you have to lift it at an angle. So let me see if I can show you. There's a little notch in this thing. I don't know if you can see it, but it hooks on under here. So basically when you take this out, you have to like put it at an angle like this, hook it on, and then drop it in place. Okay, so you lift it back up, push it out of the way, and then you can take it out. Okay, so we'll set that aside. All right, so let's unplug the charge ports here. So just flip this up just like the other one, push it out to the side. See, there's this connector. I don't know what that is, what it's going to. It's going into the hinge. So maybe this is the webcam cable. They might have added a separate cable or something for that kind of thing. It might either be the iSight camera cable or, I don't know, the microphones and other stuff. All right, then you got this cable here. You want to pop that out as well. All right, I don't like using plastic tools because it's hard to feel how much force you're putting into these connectors and you can damage stuff. Okay, so T4. Let's take out the last two T4 screws here. Okay, there's one there, and then there's one in this corner. Okay, and then now I think the rest are T5. We'll find out if I can't take out one of the screws, but I'm pretty sure the rest are T5. And then the screws up here holding these hinges, I think they're T8. So let me see. Let's get the T8 first, actually. And the ones holding down the heatsink, hopefully, yeah, they are T8s. So remove the two T8 screws holding down these heatsink. Okay, so I'm going to take those two out, just like that. Okay, the two screws on these are different sizes, so keep that in mind. This one is wider because it actually has a drilled hole through it for the bracket that goes up here. Okay, so now we're going to switch back to the T5. All right, let's remove all the logic board, motherboard screws. Okay, so there's one there, one down here. I don't know if I'm gonna do the reassembly video. Oh, there's another T4 screw here. I missed actually. So there's another T4 screw down in this corner. So they kind of like space it. So one on each side and then one slightly in the middle, but not completely. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, let's go back to the T5. We'll remove this screw here. Okay, let's see here. What else we got? So we got all of those. There's a T5 screw up here. And then there's a T5 screw here holding the antennas in place. We are going to have to take those antennas out. So I'll try and show you that, but this plastic thing is in the way. Another T5 screw down here. Okay, take that out. And then we got another T5 screw over here. Okay. I hope I got them all. Okay, I think that's all of the screws. Let me look over it. Okay, if it gets stuck, I'm gonna lift it up slowly, so if it gets stuck then we'll see. But this is gonna be a huge pain because I don't know how I'm gonna make sure all these cables end up back on top. Okay, so to remove the wireless antennas, we're gonna have to move this thing out of the way. I don't want to move it too much because as you can see it stays creased like that, but basically like all my other videos, I don't know if you'll be able to see. Let me just try. It's over here. Okay, so basically what you do is you go at the tail of the antenna and you pull up on it. So I just pry up on the tail, okay, just like that, and the antenna pops up. Okay, and you just do that for all three. Okay, you can use a little plastic pry tool if you want for these, but yeah, pry up at the tail. Okay, just like that, and it comes out. And then the last one here. Okay, just pry it up. There we go. So we got all three antennas out. Now let's see how we're gonna get the logic board, motherboard out. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so it is kind of holding up here. Usually you don't want to like pry on this metal bar. Let me zoom out. Oops, sorry. I don't know if you missed a whole bunch of what I was doing, but okay. So you don't want to pry on these metal tubes because you can bend them. So I try and like use these heatsink parts to kind of lift on it, but depending how stuck the motherboard is, we'll see. Okay, I'm gonna lift that, and then I'm gonna kind of lift the heatsink pipe under too, because that's also getting stuck. You are gonna have to push all these cables out of the way as you lift this. Okay, let's see if it's gonna come out or not. Alright, I'm gonna have to also lift this side. So this is gonna be pretty tricky to remove. But yeah, we'll see. Okay, it is coming up. You do have to watch for all these cables. There's so many cables that get in the way. Alright, lift this up. Maybe it has to come up from the back side here first. Okay, it might be easier if you lift from here first. So once you get underneath some, you can kind of lift up here. But again, there's all these cables in the way, so you have to go very slowly. And slowly, if it's not moving, just push some of these cables around, and hopefully they will unlatch. Okay, because they do get caught on the board. So it is coming out. Here you can see. Okay, make sure this adhesive isn't holding it in place. Slowly lift it. Alright, now that I got the whole bottom, I'm kind of like tilting it up, pulling it up towards myself. All these cables are getting caught here, so you do have to keep monitoring and moving them out of the way. Okay, just like this. And there we go. So we got the motherboard, or the logic board. They don't call these motherboards anymore. They call them logic boards because everything is soldered onto it. Usually motherboards, they have like components that you can pull off and attach new things. But now everything is basically soldered to this. You can't upgrade anything, so that's why they call them logic boards. Alright, so here's the other side. There is some liquid damage on this chip here, which that looks like the SSD. So somehow, luckily, it's still working for them. I think most of the coffee all spilled on this side, though this does look kind of burnt or something. Maybe that's just how the chip is. Okay, so I am gonna have to clean this off. They said this this USB-C port was having some problems, but I wasn't having too many issues with it. It was maybe a little bit. Sometimes it wouldn't detect, but it worked after I plugged it back in. Okay, so we got the power button under here. I'm gonna remove this fan here, just so you can see how one of the fans come out. I'm not sure how to remove all of these. Oh, this is a microphone. Let's go over what's under here. So you got, this is for the touch bar, and this cable is also for the touch bar. Got the speaker cables. There's two of them. Battery connector, trackpad connector, keyboard connector, the two fan connectors. You got, this is, I think I mentioned already, the microphone. Of course, you got the USB-C connector, the antennas, you got the, I already said the fans. What else? Then you got this headphone jack connector here, and underneath the tiny one is for the power button and the fingerprint sensor. Then you got this tiny cable here, and this I think is actually for the keyboard backlight. So if this cable is torn or something, your keyboard backlight won't work anymore. But those are all the connectors I see in here. I'm gonna clean up the dust here. Let's use a toothbrush and do that. I mean, it does look like something got in here before. It's a little discolored, but it doesn't look bad like the other side. So I'm gonna leave it since the customer didn't complain about anything over there, and just clean it up a little bit. Maybe I'll use some, oh yeah, there's something in there. I'm gonna get a napkin. Okay, and I got some isopropyl alcohol. I used 91%. For this kind of thing, you'd probably want like the 70 something percent because, ow, I have a cut on my finger and that hurt. It burned, right? So for this kind of stuff, you'd probably want like 70 something percent because the water helps dissolve the like oily, greasy stuff. And then the alcohol helps dissolve the more greasy stuff. So these fans are kind of dusty. I'm gonna have to clean them later too. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna have to, let's try and clean out all this coffee and stuff if I can. So my finger's gonna get burned. I got a cut from working on another computer and I was bleeding, but we'll see. So let's clean out this coffee. Okay, make sure you don't damage the fan. Okay, I don't know where you can get replacement parts for these yet. Usually I find parts on like eBay and Amazon, but this computer might be too new to find the proper replacement parts, so I have to see if I can repair them. What I do for corrosion, I've seen that white vinegar works pretty well. You basically just brush the contacts with vinegar and then just rinse it out with water and make sure it's dry. After you use the water, you can dry it and then you can spray it with isopropyl alcohol and then dry it again, and that should remove all the moisture. Okay, so let's see. We got the T5 screwdriver. Let's try and remove. So I'm going to remove the this charge port, the two USB-C ports on this side, because that's the side the customer was complaining about. So there's two screws here. I'm going to take those two out. Okay, I guess I'll show the reassembly process. It might be on a separate video, but yeah, let's see. So this is still holding on. I think they added these two little brackets up here with T4 screws. I haven't seen that on the other models, so maybe that's why the bracket won't come out. Let's remove those two screws. Actually, they're not even T4 screws. What are those? Okay, so these are using Pentalobe 0.8, which is basically an iPhone screwdriver. Same thing with the wireless antenna here. If you're replacing the screen, this looks basically the same as the other screens I've worked on, except I don't know what this cable is. So I don't know about replacing the screen on this model. I don't know what this cable is. I'll probably figure it out if I ever have to change one, but yeah. Alright, so again, this is an iPhone screw that they're using here, a Pentalobe 0.8. So let's take out those two screws as well. It seems like they're holding down the charge port. Alright, so the charge port is held in with a lot of screws. There's 4 screws holding the actual ports in place, and then there's 2 more screws holding the connectors onto the board. Okay, so I'm gonna just put the screw is not wanting to cooperate. There we go. Okay, let's see if the connector will come out now. There we go. Okay, it's coming up. Actually, I don't think I needed to take out those Pentalobe screws. I think it was just stuck with the coffee or something. So after you kind of lift it, you can kind of wiggle it and pull it back, and there we go. Oh yeah, those are burnt. I don't think I'm going to be able to fix that, but we'll see. The bottoms are okay, so I think as long as they turn the USB-C port a certain way, it'll let them charge it. I'm going to put back these Pentalobe iPhone type screws back in because I didn't actually have to remove those. I don't know what those are there for, just to trick you so that you think you have to take something out. So I'm going to put these back. Again, I'm going to get some white vinegar and see if I can clean that. I guess I'll bring a little dish over and then show you how I clean it, but I'm going to check the other side, these other charge ports as well, because those ones, when I was plugging it in, they also kind of had some issue, but not as bad. So let's see if these got any damage, even though the customer didn't complain about these charge ports. Okay, so here you can see after I took those 2 screws out, this one comes out easily. So the other one, yeah, it got messed up from the coffee. Okay, yeah, these look okay. So I I can probably get replacements of these. I think they're exactly the same. They have model numbers here, 01646-A. So the model number 01646-A if you are replacing these. Okay, so yes, this USB-C port looks completely fine. The customer was correct about those. So I'll put that back in. And then I'm gonna get this and put these screws back in. So whenever I put the screws back in for like a bracket, I always put them in loosely first so that I can get all the screws in. And then after that, I try and like hold it in place and then tighten down the screws. Okay, there we go, just like that. Once one's in, the rest should go in just fine. Okay, don't over tighten these. You can damage the tops, and also sometimes the threads are so small that it actually tears really easily. Okay, so I'm not going to remove the microphone. The microphone is just held in with adhesive, and you peel that up, but almost nobody needs to replace that. Almost all the MacBooks, I think since 2012, had their microphones like this, where it's like just double stick taped onto this metal piece. Okay, so I am going to remove one of the fans here. If you want to see how to take out the wireless antennas or the screen, again, watch the 2016 to 2018 models that I take apart. It's probably very similar. The only thing is you have to watch for this cable. I'm not sure how that works, but I don't want to mess with it. All right. So the fan seems to be held in with T5 screws, I think, right? Yeah, I'm using a T5 screwdriver again. So there's one screw there, one screw here. Okay, they switched to a T4 there, and they switched to a T4 there. So I don't know, Apple does some weird stuff. So there's two T5 screws. So on this side, these both are T5. And then on this side, they're T4. Okay, so I don't know. I don't know why Apple does these things. To me, it just makes things more complicated. I mean, if somebody's going to work on this, they already know what, they can already figure it out. So I don't know why they need to make it complicated like this. Just to be annoying, I don't know. Okay. Alright, so those should be done, and you can pull out the fan just like this. Right, there's no signs of any liquid in here. If you want, you can clean the fans. I just use a toothbrush, brush the fan propellers like this. Usually I don't do it over the computer because now the dust is going to all end up inside. And then I use this air blower, or I use an electric air blower, so I'm going to get the dust out there. Alright, so the dust still kind of sticks, but it did get a little bit cleaner. So we are going to set this fan aside. And now we need to check the power button fingerprint sensor, because that was the one that was the most, having the most problems. So I think these are T4s, it looks like. I'll try the T5 first to be safe, because I don't want to strip anything on there. So I'll just check. Yeah, those are definitely T4s. Okay. So they thread the fingerprint power button sensor underneath this adhesive here. So you will need like a little needle or something, a little tool like this, or whatever you can use to get underneath this, because you have to peel it up to get it out of the way. Okay, it is held with an adhesive, and then you can peel it back, and here you can see, or I don't know if you can see, but underneath, Apple likes to put all this dumb stuff here that makes it more difficult. I don't know. So then when people actually send it somewhere to be repaired, they like Apple, that doesn't actually repair it. So here you go. You got this connector. It goes under here. There's another one of these flip clip mechanisms. So you do have to flip this little thing up. I'll use my fingernail. But I hate this adhesive thing that's here. I'm going to just peel it off all the way almost. Okay. So, oh, there's a solid thing in there. What in the world? They put like a solid piece in there, so I guess I can't peel it all the way. I'm gonna flip this up with my nail, okay, to unlatch it. Alright. If you can't do this, you can, this one you might need to use a tool, because, there we go. It is very small and cramped in that little corner. Okay, so let's get the T4 screwdriver and we'll take out these screws that are holding this mechanism in place. I think we have to take all 4 corner screws out. The middle one, I think you can leave those middle 2. Actually, no, I think we have to remove the middle ones. I forgot how it works. I think I'm supposed to leave a few of the screws, but whatever. I'm going to just take them all out and then just put them all back later. Okay, so let's take these 4 screws out. Why is it stuck in there so strong? There we go. Get off my fingernail. Again, you want to make sure all the screws are in order. You don't want to get them all mixed up. I'll probably show in a bit how I put my screws, but you do it however you can, that whatever works for you, because my method might be confusing for you as well. So, all right, will this lift up? Or no, I do have to take these 2 out. Okay. Okay, so we'll take out these 2 middle screws. I think I wasn't supposed to actually take out the 4 screws for this metal bracket because I'm gonna put those back because these just hold the spring to the metal housing and these don't need to come out, so I'm gonna loosely put those back. These screws are so small, it's kind of a pain to take them out and put them back in. Come on, go in. There we go. Okay. I don't know if you can even see what I'm doing because these things are so small, but hopefully it's helpful to some of you guys. Alright, now that I got all 4 screws in, I'm going to tighten them down. So these 4 screws, I think they mount into, I forgot what they mount on the other side. Let me make sure. I only put in tighten the other 2 screws down. I'm going to take this other middle screw out. Do I have to take them all out? I don't remember. I think I do. Okay, I'm going to just take all the screws. Sorry about that. I'm just wasting your time. You can fast forward through this. I'm just going to take all the screws out now. I think I didn't have to take the middle 2 screws out. Oh, okay. Yeah, the 2 screws I didn't have to take out were the middle ones, so I did do it right the first time. I second guessed myself, and now I'm gonna have to do it all again later. Okay, so got all those screws out. We'll take out this, see if there's any. I guess it's okay because there might be. Oh yeah, there's the coffee liquid stuff under there, and that's why they were having problems with the button. So I'm just gonna get some rubbing alcohol or water and wipe that up. Okay. Actually, I'm going to use water because coffee dissolves better with water. So, get some water on this thing. Wipe that off. Okay, make sure it's all clean. There we go. So that's all clean now. Alright, wipe this other side as well, just to be safe. If you're wondering which way this goes, it faces this way. I don't know if you can even tell. So it faces that way. Don't turn it this way. So this one is pointing to the right. You want it actually pointing to the left. That's how they had it installed in there. I don't know if it matters, but that's how they had it installed, and I don't like changing things around unless I know what's going on. Alright, so I'm cleaning off the coffee here with just a tiny bit of water on this paper. Okay. Alright, so here you can see, ooh, that's dangerous. Okay. So here you can see, let me move this out of the way so I don't drop it on stuff. Okay, so we got the charge ports here. I'm gonna have to clean that up later. So here you can see the connector goes over here. Let me see if I can unplug that. So they make the fingerprint sensor plug over to this, and then this plugs over to this small cable. Apple just likes making things complicated. I'm going to try and use this tool to peel it up. You got to be very careful, so I'm just slowly pulling it. Okay. Oh, I almost dropped the MacBook. Okay, and then pinch. I'm going to pinch this while I use this tool, and then pull that out like that. It actually stuck to it because of the adhesive. So there we go. We unplugged that. I don't know if you could even see. Sorry, it's so small and I forgot to zoom in. But yeah, so this cable here, if you can see without all the wobbly. So I use this tool to get underneath. You can use fingernails or other pry tools. And then I used my finger to pull on that cable to squeeze it, and then I pulled it out of that little slot that's down there. Okay, make sure you peel this cable off. This cable is super fragile, so you have to be very careful with it. Alright, so now to take the fingerprint sensor out, you can't replace this button. If you replace it, the fingerprint sensor Touch ID won't work. And I don't know if it will mess up the power button as well, but definitely the Touch ID won't work, so keep that in mind. Alright, so now that I unplugged it, I'm opening the screen, and as you can see, the fingerprint sensor button is just falling through. Okay, lift it up. Hopefully you can actually see, and then I'm going to grab the button from under and rotate it. So here you go. This is what the button looks like, oops, underneath. So the button is actually right in the center there, and that's what gets pushed. Okay. It doesn't look like there's really any coffee here. I'm gonna clean around the edge just to make sure that there's no residue there. I mean, the thing is black, so I can't tell if the coffee's on it. It's blended in, but I'll just clean it off just to be safe. Again, be very careful with that cable because it is very fragile. It's very thin. There's also a little cable right there. I don't know if you can even see that because it's so small. So you have to be very gentle with this, okay? If you break this, then you won't have a power button anymore. Worst case is if you break it and your power button thinks that it's permanently pressing, then your computer will basically keep turning itself off, or it won't even turn on at all. Okay, so we cleaned all of that out. Hopefully that should be good. I'm gonna turn it over and clean on the other side of this as well to make sure that there's no liquid underneath there either. Okay, so clean up under both sides. All right, there we go. And it's kind of funny because their sticker says, "Oh whale." And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say "oh whale" from a spill on this expensive MacBook, but I don't know. Oh well. Alright, so let's put this sticker through, or not the sticker, the cable for this power button through. Okay. You can push it. Oh yeah, it's much better now already. So yeah, I shouldn't have taken the 2 screws from the center out because now it's going to make it a little more difficult. So let's see here. I'm going to stick this down first so that way the power button stays in place and doesn't move around. Be very careful when doing this because you don't want to have the power button falling out and then you crush it with the, into the screen. So what I'm doing is I'm keeping my hand in between here, holding the power button in place. Okay, I'm going to put this bracket on. Alright, put this metal plate back there. Let's see if I can get some screws into it so it doesn't move around while I'm trying to do this. So this is a tricky part. It might help to have someone help you with this. Okay, so I got one of the screws. Let's try and put it into the corner. Sorry, my head's going to get in the way because I'm trying to see what I'm doing. Here we go. So I just put the screw in loosely. Now when I let go, it's actually at least staying in place. Okay, there we go. Now I can close the screen all the way. And then we're going to go ahead and put the other 3 screws for the corners. Alright, that will get the power button centered with the, I guess this is like a spring mechanism. Okay. There we go. Alright, so now I'm going to hold this spring mechanism down, and then I'm going to just tighten up all these screws. Okay. So that way the power button is in place. Okay. There we go. So we got all those screws in place for the power button. If you want, now you want to line this up. Try and get it as centered as possible. And then get the 2 center screws and tighten them in. You'll want to hold the spring down so when you tighten it, it doesn't move around. Okay, get the other one. Same thing. Tighten that down. Oops. Go in. Stop turning over. There we go. Alright, tighten that down. There we go. So we got all those screws in. I'm going to test the power button now. Oh yeah, that's much better. It kept getting stuck before, so that problem's fixed. We got all the coffee residue out of this, so that's good. Now we got to plug this cable back in. It's really tricky. I don't know if you'll even be able to see it, but let's try and show this. Alright, I'm going to use this tool again and try and lift up this piece. Come on. Gotta get underneath. There we go. Alright, so this you might want to use some tweezers, but I'm going to try and use this by sticking this onto this tool. And then now I can kind of maneuver this around. Okay, it is rotating itself kind of weird, but it shouldn't. Okay. Oops. Stick on there, please. Okay, so let's try and get that in. There we go. Okay. Make sure that you get the cable in all the way, and then you can push the little latch down. Hopefully you can actually see how I did that. Alright, and then now we should be able to pull this off. There we go. And then stick that back down. Okay, now we're gonna close this thing back up. It did get a little crease in it, but can't really do anything about that. Alright, and then we'll stick this down as well. Let's try and get this all behind this little piece here. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to push that down because it had an adhesive. I hope it'll stick again. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to try and clean this up. I'll be back. I'm going to get a little vinegar, and yeah, we'll see if we can clean this. I don't know if it will clean or not, but we'll try. Alright, so I'm back. I got a tiny bit of vinegar in this little container. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this connector in there and see if I can scrub it out. So I'm going to get, well, I guess I'll use the toothbrush to do it. So let me move this out of the way if I can. Let's put the fan up here. Alright, so let's get this there and then see if we can clean this off. So I'm going to just get a toothbrush. I don't think it's going to clean off. I think it's completely... Oh, actually, ooh, it might be working. Might be easier to do this with paper towel, but we'll see. It looks like it's coming out, so... Oh, I'm going to get the vinegar on everything. It's going to stink on the computer. Alright, so... yeah, let me try it with the paper towel instead and see if I can clean it using that. Okay. But that will sting my hand. Okay. It cleared up quite a bit.